Hi, everyone. It is so great to have you joining us. Today, I am Susie Brown. I am here today with two of my fellow blobbers, but they are our special guests. And so we have a super fun topic today. Sharoya and Lisa, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. So good to be with you. I am here sending you greetings from Atlanta, Georgia, in my closet, just so I could get a nice sound today.
I love that. And hello, everybody. This is Lisa Telstra, and I today am in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Lisa is our vagabond blobber. She goes wherever the wind carries her. So we're lucky she has her microphone all set up. So today we're going to talk about a topic that has impacted and affected a number of our Foreign Service family community members this year, especially. But I mean, it happens all of the time. And that is what happens when you leave the Foreign Service and you become a non-Foreign Service person. Is there like an acronym for that? An NFS person?
Yeah,
There
right.
needs to be.
For volunteers.
So Sharoya is here as our expert witness or expert guest today. And Lisa is just new to this scenario. And she is hoping to get some answers to help make this new jacket fit really comfortably. Sharoya, how long have you been a non-Foreign Service person?
So, about 2.5 years, I want to just say I've witnessed the demise of my identity, and now I am experiencing the reconstruction. So, there is hope.
Okay, that is always nice to hear. And Lisa, you are brand new to this scenario. Like
Brand new.
weeks new.
Yes, weeks. I think I just passed the 4-week mark of being non-foreign service, and it has impacted me way more than I anticipated. Yeah.
Well, so I have a couple questions, and I know that you guys will have all sorts of insights. But I think part of what we struggle with, and I am still Foreign Service, so I am just trying to imagine what the implications would be. But when you are, especially overseas, but even stateside, when you're Foreign Service, you are in a community, however artificially contrived it may be. You have a defined group of people with whom you connect with, you live amongst. Literally, in the case of where I am now, where we all live on one compound. And that is not at all the case when you are stateside. Sharoya, is that one of the things that you struggled with when you guys landed stateside?
You know what I struggled with? Not so much not feeling like a community, but recognizing for the first time my family was close and was watching and was very interested in giving their opinion. So, as I can recall, that was the hardest thing I faced initially. It was just like in my face, like, why are these people telling me about my life? And I realized that that wasn't a new phenomenon. Like, that would have been the case had I lived in the US. So I was trying to reconcile with that, like how not to be upset, but also recognize I still want my space and I can have it. So I came to a place where I understood that from their perspective, that makes sense. And I could say that to them. I could acknowledge that what they see and their conclusion makes sense. However, my experience is different. So, for instance, they, of course, really couldn't understand one, what they call is unstable. Like we are just going from place to place. And I explained to them how, you know, my job, as a supporting spouse was always to make things stable. My presence, the routines, so and observing what was needed in our new location and going to handle it. And that's what the issue was. It was like, how could your husband let you come back to the US and handle all these things? Because they wanted to step in and help me. So then when they saw the amount of what I was doing, now they're right? Like we do a lot when we move from country to country. But there's no one casting judgment because everybody else is doing the same thing in your peer group, right? And so just to have those eyes looking in was very uncomfortable. Now, as a parent coach, what I hear my clients, my families I work with, what the challenge is having those eyes on your parenting. And I know that's a huge one, very uncomfortable. Fortunately, my kids were adults by the time we got back home, but I remember that feeling every time we would come home on vacations. And so this is one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing that families are facing, those who had to go back home to a family member's house. So
That is, and I think that oftentimes our stateside families don't realize like the skills that we have honed and use very skillfully in setting up a home, which are obviously very useful when you move to the US. But they think that you have not had to do that because they don't actually fully understand what our lives are like overseas, at least in my experience. Are you finding that same thing, Lisa?
So there's some things that I'm connecting to, Sharoya, and it's actually putting off some light bulbs for me, which is the beauty of getting to learn from your experience. And I've been back in the States for just under 2 years, still connected to the Foreign Service, although obviously it's different here. And I think the living in closer proximity to family, I have struggled to figure out how to connect and show up and be present. I felt the pressure of I have to get to everything and everybody, and this person needs that and that because now I can, because now I'm not on the other, I don't have an excuse in my work schedule. Oh, I can be flexible and I can come. And that's been really challenging to figure out. And secondarily, the other thing that you're sharing that I'm just in these 4 weeks that I'm processing this, I am stepping back, zooming out, looking at all of the things that I have shouldered and managed in our relationship. And we don't even have kids. And so, I mean, that just blows it up even exponentially more. If you do have kids, even without kids, I'm like, whoa, I have just managed all of this stuff and it's come with these identities and with these roles. And it's like, well, okay, like I am the one that's going to manage all this. And stepping back from that and saying, huh, okay, well, if I don't have to manage all of that stuff again, what does that mean? What do I want to, continue to manage and take care of and lead out in our relationship? And what things am I like, yeah, okay, I'm ready for you to take some of that to my husband, who has also gotten used to me just managing all of it. And so that it's like this disruptive, yeah, it's just a disruptive experience because the patterns that we've become accustomed to are shifting and changing. And identity. I mean, you mentioned identity first off, and that's the first thing when I found out that my husband was going to resign and get another job, I reached out to Susie and I'm like, I don't think I can be on the Big Purple Blob anymore because I'm no longer an EFM. And, it was really like, wow, like, okay, this is going to impact my life and in so many ways.
I mean, that's a real struggle, right? Like we have, especially if you've been doing this foreign service life for a while, like you have your foreign service persona and identity. And
Yep.
that persona or identity is the one that handles all the things and gets the school set up, figures out the shopping, sets up the house, etc. Like that is part of your role. Even if you are working, that is still, I would say, the trailing spouse's role. And now you guys have another persona. So like you have to marry, right now they're like at odds with one another. Well, Sharoya, you've managed to like bring yours together much more effectively than I think I would in 2 years. But like there's this dichotomy between where you are and who you are now versus what you used to do, and you used to do really well. Thoughts?
Yes, I'm processing, and it's interesting to just, I think, allow myself to recognize all the ways that I am impacted. And again, it's like this zooming out. And for the last 15 years of my life, I have largely shaped my personal and professional life around the lifestyle that comes from my husband's career in the foreign service. Like there is a very clear lifestyle. And I have mixed feelings about it on this side. I'm like, wow. I mean, I am an independent woman. I kind of like take pride in being an independent woman. And there's this sense of, and I remember when I very first got my first diplomatic passport, and it says in the back, dependent spouse of, I'm like, ugh, oh, I don't like that. And yet, again, I've lived in this space where I am like literally in writing a dependent of my husband. And so then to just step back and look at all that and be like, oh, wow, that it hits me in a different way. And it's very much a both and, because there's so many beautiful experiences that we had in the foreign service. And I'm so grateful for getting to live in different countries and really get to know and develop different parts of myself along the way. And also there is this sense of, oh, I mean, here I am, I'm 49 and I should know what I want to do with my life. And now there's this major disruption. It's like, well, who do I want to be now? And what do I want to do if I don't have to shape everything around this career that is my spouse's? So I'm sitting in a lot of big questions.
And your life is like broken into chunks, right? Like, because, like
Mhm.
literally geographically, you are moving every 2 to 3 years or so. And then like if you are traveling, for example, like you were with one of your, with a recent position, like now you have to change your base and where you're coming from. And that in fact impacts like your availability and jet lag and, I mean, all the things, but then also like just it impacts so many aspects of your life because you are chunked into these time frames. And then you have like, for us, like we couldn't plan on anything this summer because we were relocating to a new country, right? So like
Yep.
you have to like pause these parts of your body, your parts of your schedule, parts of your career, etc. Like it's a very weird way to look at a timeline. You no longer have those disruptions.
Yes. And other people I've noticed really see us through that lens too. As soon as we were sharing with family, John had already had his next assignment, which would have been summer of 2027. Friends and family are already making plans to come visit us and like, oh, we can't wait to come visit you there. And so then they heard about his new job and they're like, oh, does that mean you're not going to Cuba? We can't come see you there. And there's like disappointment from them. And it's so interesting to experience and sit with.
I think for both my husband and I, it was a total shock in terms of um, a job, right? So let me start here. What we both wanted to come home. And I just wanted to come home because I was tired of moving, not actually because I wanted to leave the Foreign Service life.
Mm,
And I knew what I was coming back home to, the degree that things would not be excelling in my thoughts, like the country would not be moving forward. I just kind of felt that way, but I still wanted to come home. And so as things began to go in the direction that I kind of thought it would, I kept thinking to myself, why did I do this? Why did I choose to move back home? Like I could be living a more glamorous life overseas. Well, when looking back, of course, when all of the things that have happened in the Foreign Service community, it's highly likely that my husband would not have had a job anyway.
Mm.
And so I became grateful that at least our process had kind of begun a little earlier and that we didn't have this disappointment, that many are feeling because our hearts go out, and so, however, we also can relate to the job. Like my husband lives in a different state because he works in a different state, could not find a job that really met his expectations, paid anywhere near where he was paid. It has been a struggle
Mm.
and a humbling experience, no less. And one that is questioned by oh so many more people because where I live, because I moved back home not to move again. And
Mm.
of course, we also have that ability to be flexible. So I'm okay with him living in another state. We just work it out where we visit each other. Um, and sometimes it's even better because it's like a date. We're constantly dating. um, but I say that to say that one thing about living abroad is the level of resilience that we have. And that's to our advantage. We really, I think question deeply what is we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we do constantly in our lifestyle. And so to be so attuned to what our needs are, I think makes it easier to kind of find your place,
Mm.
or find a really meaningful place when you do find it. Because there's no time, like I never thought I would be still trying to shape my business 2.5 years into this process. And I'm nowhere near where I thought I would be because I thought coming back home, it'd be easy to find the clients I need, the partnerships I need to expand the business. But that hasn't happened. I'm still, I thought feet on the ground. Who am I going to be coaching? What parents? I'm going to be coaching those in the United States. I've been doing research and going to schools and subbing so that I can find out the mentality of American families and teachers. And what? I don't have a whole bunch of American families. I am working with foreign service family and it's timely, right? Because they need support at this time. And so, just looking at that our steps, even though they're uncomfortable, I believe that they're ordered, that they're divinely like in tune with where we're supposed to be in life. And it hurts, it's uncomfortable. Um, but I do see it. I do see benefits all around me. Even to have my husband away, I've seen so much development in our relationship because there's a lot more conversation to ask each other, what do you need? What do you want? And so my whole thing is to our audience, if it looks a hot mess, it will eventually come together.
Mm. And what I'm so appreciative of you sharing this piece of your story, Sharoya, is I'm thinking about all the families who have been disrupted not by choice this
Yeah,
year.
that's
And
right.
even though my husband resigned by choice, it came unexpectedly, right? And a lot of families have been disrupted unexpectedly with job losses and rifts. And there is a difficulty, even if we choose it, like you and your husband chose it, planned it out. Okay, we're doing this. And sometimes it can feel when it's foisted upon us, and especially when it's unexpected, it's like, like it's super difficult. If I had had the choice, it would be less difficult. And it was like, it's like, well, there's difficulty no matter what. And so the difficulty that I'm in, it's sort of the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. If only I had had this and that. I mean, this is where my kind of take on there's difficult times in life. And these big transitions, I mean, we experience them in the Foreign Service, like big transitions and the disruption to all sorts of pieces of our life, personally and professionally, with each of those. And here is another type of transition. It looks different from those looking in from the outside, but internally, there's just so much turmoil. And whether it's planned out ahead of time and chosen, or whether it just comes out of the blue unexpectedly, again, that major disruption, major transitions. And for me, one of the things that I've started working with a therapist again, and there have been several major transition points where I'm like, I need to talk to someone, and it's been really good to say, okay, yep, now is another time to have somebody to process professionally with to help manage the transition.
Lisa, I really appreciate that because we don't want people to negate, right? And just go, oh, my story doesn't apply because they made the choice. Because there are very much there's similarities, and we do want people to take away what is similar. Like, you are going to be upset, you're going to be disappointed. Um, but also there are benefits because I've seen like other people who've left the Foreign Service start businesses now, but there's such a fire, there's such a flame that it goes so fast, like they're moving forward fast. And so sometimes, just as they say, gratitude is everything.
Hmm.
Just like I've had to just stop and go, I could be resentful, in my opinion, to the good Lord because I'm like, we prayed before we left, like, why are we in this mess? You know,
Hmm.
but I've just began to say, I do see where this is serving us, in a better light than I ever imagined.
Hmm.
I wonder, and Sharoya, I know your answer already, but I think it's an important detail. How do you, once you're stateside, do you separate yourself from Foreign Service? Do you kind of no longer want any part of it? So like, if people ask you, so where are you from? Like before, I always joke that like, well, we're homeless because we don't own any place. And, that's kind of funny, but I can always list the last 9 countries we've lived in, and those have all been home. Um, what do you say, Sharoya? And Lisa, what do you think you will say?
Yeah, so this one I kind of came by default because I just, you love that question, kind of, really. Like, it sometimes it can be overwhelming to answer, but it's like, you have an exotic answer. Like, I
Yes.
have lived in so many wonderful places. And so that felt so good coming back home. And it also allowed me to just have a bit of distance and say, I'm only selecting this because I I'm not really, like, that's not a part of my daily life. Um, I just felt very selective because I could say I'm, like, I really don't know how that operates. First of all, like, using a checkbook again was like, what? Are you really like, so I do live kind of outside of Atlanta. And so most of the people come to fix something, they prefer a check, because they're small businesses, they don't want the credit card fee. So I was like, what is that about? But the other thing is, after a while, I got tired of hearing myself tell the same story. And I recognized like I wasn't in that life anymore. So why am I just so happy to tell this story? So then I really became like, just like, no, I'm not saying this anymore. Of course, if they ask me later on, but now I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Now you ask me what the street, you tell me the street names and go this way. I said, well, I'm new here. Well, where you from? I'm originally from New Jersey. Let's keep it moving. And so then, of course, when I'm in relationship with someone now, I do explain, but I reckon I made a real choice. I think after a year and a half, I said, no more. You will not answer that question about you've lived outside of the US. You need to let it go. And although my husband still does it, right? And I just feel like, well, he stopped telling people. But again, I mean, of course, his identity was even deeper than mine. And
Right.
so that has been something to watch. And like a smoker, you know, when a smoker stops smoking cigarettes, they can't stand others who smoke, like they can't stand to be around. I almost felt like that with him. Like after I stopped bragging about being a part of the firm service, I would look at him like, you need to stop. So yes, yeah, I think that was important for me. I wouldn't suggest it for anybody else, but I just knew that that's where I needed to let go of that. And now, as I said, that was the demise of that. But I'm seeing a rebirth of who I am in the United States and how they see me. So that makes me see another part of me. That's what I always liked about moving. You find another part of yourself.
I mean, it comes down to like your legitimacy, right? Your identity and then your legitimacy, right? Like, so if you're just here in the US temporarily, well, of course you don't know how to find that street, right? But like making that conscious effort to be like, no, I am present here now. This is my new me. I think
Yeah.
that's a really it's a really good way to start just really embracing being stateside.
Yeah. There's, I am still so new to this transition that Susie, as you asked that question of like staying connected, I was really sad when I reached out to you. I was like, but I just got started with the big purple blob and now I can't do it. And so you were like, yes, you can. Sharoya's like, and I was like, really? I didn't even know that about your story, Sharoya. So it was really encouraging. And it's such a significant portion of my life that at least right now, I have this desire to figure out, well, how to keep it woven together. And I feel so grateful to say, like, well, I can continue to contribute here on the Big Purple Blob because it doesn't cancel out all of my experience. And it is relevant in, maybe new and different ways. And I feel really grateful for staying connected to people who are in the foreign service. And I mean, it's a little bit like moving from country to country. Some people are good about staying connected when we move, and then some people, it's like you get cut off and they just don't stay connected. And there's likely to be some people that are kind of like that. Nope, like you're no longer part of the club. Goodbye. And then other people who it's just like, no, we're going to go on this journey together. And yes, we're kind of in different, um, you know, clubs and identities, and that's okay because we can share and learn each other's stories. And I think I've had in my past some really big major transitions that are come to mind where it's like hanging on to that identity is helpful for a little while. And like you're saying, Sharoy, like for that first year, it's all like, yeah, well, I lived outside the States for the past how many years. And I find myself saying that, even though I've been back for almost 2 years, and I'm still adjusting, and I'll say I'm still adjusting to living back in the States. And it almost sounds funny to me as I say it. And also, I remember other expats outside of the foreign service community telling me when we first moved to the Philippines, which was our first post, and we were only there 2 years, other expats I met who had lived there for 9 years, 15 years, I remember them telling me, well, it took us really like 2 to 3 years to start settling in. And I had this moment of, okay, well, I only have 2 years. I'm like kind of screwed because I gotta like settle in extra fast. And that comes back to me of normalizing that it takes time. And Sharoya, you said you're 2.5 years in, and it is this kind of messaging of these big transitions take time, years. Even if we haven't moved outside the country, but we just moved to a new state or a new city, there is a transition there that can take 2 or 3 years, depending on all the different factors. And so I'm saying this to myself as I say it out loud here of be patient with myself, be patient with the process, have compassion for myself, get myself the support that I need, have these conversations, be talking to my therapist again. These sorts of things can just kind of really help and be the support system that I need.
100%.
They don't, when you move, so we've only lived stateside outside of the, we did the language training thing, but then it ended up, anyway, super long story. We ended up having to rent a house outside of like the umbrella of the State Department. And I remember living in this neighborhood and we were only there for 2 years. But like none of the neighbors like came over and showed me how to like work my hot water heater, or they didn't come and show me where the grocery store. I mean, it was like you become so used to that whole sponsor situation where someone, and maybe they're not going to be your best friend, but like you are met by someone that will help kind of introduce you around. And I remember thinking like, I don't know how to press play here because this is like really hard. And I'm like so consumed with trying to get the kids set up that I can't figure out how to like find my own community. And so I feel like that's probably one of the harder pieces stateside, just because like you're kind of left thrown into the deep end to figure things out for yourself.
It's true, Susie. I think one, and the same thing goes with children, right? You have to explain to them when we go back home, these kids have been in school with each other all their lives. So they're not missing anything. They're not looking to expand their friendship circle. And it's not like they're mean or anything. And the same goes with adults. They're not looking for us. When we go back home, they're not looking to be friends with us. And it's nothing personal, but I had to really figure that thing out. I was just like, nobody wants to be my friend. It was like, because they're very comfortable. And so I kept thinking, what do I need to do to find a friend? And I kept asking everybody to, you want to go out? You want to come to my house? And people, they were willing to go out for coffee or something, but they weren't willing to come to my house. And I didn't like that because I'm a more intimate conversationalist. So I want you to come to my house. And I think I'm like, that's a high honor because by the time I get to that feeling, there's something about you that I want you in my space. But I remember so many people would say no, not so many, but a few would say no. And so I was just like, what is that about? But also that's not what they do, you know. So the US that I once knew is not what exists now. And so when I was here, people did go over people's houses. It was like, right, it didn't seem odd to have someone invite you. But you had mentioned, now I forgot my thought. What did you say, Susie, about because there was a point I really wanted to make, but go ahead and maybe it'll come back around.
I exactly what you just said, Sharoya, like it was really hard to find people that I connected with And the way we entertain and get together overseas is very different than what happens in the US, whether or not you have kids. But I remember it was preschool. That was our magic place where I finally found people that I really connected with. And, I often thought, like, what if I didn't have these kids? It's not like there's, that monthly coffee which are awesome and also horrible at the same time. There's no, there's probably a book club, but like, how do you find it? Like, it's so hard to plug into that neighborhood because like you just said, Sharoya, everybody has their circles already going. Everybody has their people, they're comfortable. And there isn't a thing that is going to coffees at people's houses. If you want a coffee, I'll meet you at Starbucks or whatever.
Okay, Susie, I have to tell you two stories real quick. One, I haven't had kids for 5 years in the house. So yeah, even when I was overseas, it's really hard to make friends in the foreign service community once you don't have a school to pick up children at and chit chat. So I was sitting at the library one day and this lady, I just wanted to talk to somebody. And she goes to all the free books and she's looking through the books and I go, so you like books? Stupidest question. But guess what? It sparked a nice conversation. I ended up volunteering at her quilting group, just going there and writing the biographies of each one in the quilting group. So, I mean, I really put effort into finding a friend. Okay, then the next thing, GSO, my gosh. My the door on my garage, the electrical, component stopped working. Well, it wasn't really the electrical. There was a bolt that had fallen out, right? So my son saw the bolt and he put it up on the cabinet. He called his dad, says, okay, this is not working. For $150, the man came and put the bolt back in and it worked. I said to my son last night, I said, baby, we're going to have to watch some YouTube videos because we're going to have to turn into the handyman and woman in this house. And so I said, I need some blinds put up in my office. He's like, I put up blinds before. I said, why you didn't tell me? So that is huge because still 2.5 years later, I go, it seems like we are paralyzed when it comes to fixing something because we're so used to calling. And so to all people who are still abroad, be very kind to GSO because you will miss them.
No matter how
Yes.
much of a bother it is to have to put in that work order, it is a blessing to be able to do that and have someone come and do the job that you don't know how to or don't want to do.
Yes. On the flip side, I have to say, Sharoya, I have gotten into some hands-on work, both on our vehicles and the house and building bed frames that like taps back into, I grew up on a farm. I grew up doing a lot of this stuff and I've been away from it so long. And the one time my husband and I are working on vehicles, and I was able to take apart the back door that the latch was broken from the inside and undo this thing. And he was like, wow, I'm like amazed that you could do that. Like, it was really impressed. And to me, I was like, oh, this is connecting with a piece of me that I haven't had to tap into for a really long time. So on the flip side, I am like getting to use these hands-on skills and abilities and obviously like using
GSO
YouTube
is stifling
videos.
you. Okay, wonderful, Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, just with respect to everyone's time, I mean, we could keep going for probably another 45 minutes or longer, talking about the pros and cons of living stateside and of course the wonders that are GSO. Any last thoughts, Troy? Any like marching orders for people that have found themselves landed here and trying to figure out who are they now?
Yeah. I'm with Lisa and like I just want, whoever is stuck to dig deep and go, okay, I can just get outside and get some sun. That's enough. Okay, I know it's time to call the therapist. That's all I need to do for today. Now, even look who's behind you, Susie. House help. Don't throw that up in our face. Okay.
It wasn't deliberate.
Okay, for the listeners, Susie's housekeeper just walked past and sweeping, and so we could see that. And yeah. All right, so that's my advice. Just know that your life is worth fighting for, and your happiness is even more so of importance. So go for it.
Lisa, any last thoughts?
I think that I would just say, no, you're not alone. That big transitions are challenging no matter how many times we've done them. And I feel like I built up a lot of skills for the transitions and handled them much better than I have earlier in my foreign service career life. And also, it's still challenging. And so to be, again, patient with ourselves, have compassion for ourselves, and know, you know what? I'm not alone in this. My brain can tell me I'm alone and nobody gets it and understands. And then I hear, Sharoya, I hear your story. And we're on unique, different paths. And also, we have these similarities that just, it's like, okay, I'm not alone. So, yes, to remember we're not alone, share our stories, reach out to others, pick up that phone, call the therapist, whatever it is that will just provide the support to continue to keep taking the next step and the next step and the next step.
I often say living stateside is actually probably one of our biggest hardship posts, just because of the things you don't have, right? The things that we've gotten so used to. But I love all of the advice. I especially love Sharoya saying that she met someone by, so you like books too, like just finding someone that you connect with, even if it's, just for a volunteer opportunity, or just a way to find a way to connect with your community and start building yet another new village, which is something we all do very well in the Foreign Service. I appreciate both of your insights and questions and thoughts, and I hope that listening has been helpful.
Uh-oh, Susie got stuck. We hope that listening has been helpful and that you will be encouraged, of course, to keep going. I do want to say the last thing. I do think that it takes about 3.5 years because, at Post it took about 2, but think about all the things we don't have that, as we say, a sponsor, a house help, and all those other supports. So be kind to yourself, or and don't beat yourself up that you've been here for just 6 months and it's not working. No. Give yourself grace. All right. Take care,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye-bye.